afternoon/good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I will call the meeting of the Social Connectedness Task Force to order at 11:36 a.m. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Loops,
Here.
Commissioner Colo is not here yet. Commissioner Nelson,
Here.
Madam Chair, you have quorum.
Excellent, thank you. Next up, we'll go to the approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes of the previous meeting? Excellent. Seeing none, we need a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Moved by Commissioner Loops, and I'll support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. Motion carried. Next up, we'll go through the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or corrections to the agenda? Ready? See none. We need a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Motion by Commissioner Lubes. Support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Excellent. Motion carried. Next up, we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the Social Connectedness Task Force?
Good morning. Currently, your public comment lines are open and there are no callers and there are no online submissions.
Excellent. Thank you. Seeing none, I will close public comment. Next up is our regular agenda. We'll move on to our regular agenda. First up on our agenda is item 1, update on our Senior Center grant program. Barbara, this is where I always get confused. I don't need to do a motion, right?
No, all the items are informal. We voted on them last time, so now
Excellent.
it's just updates.
Thank you so much. Alrighty, so I've got some exciting things to share. Before I share that, I know that a lot of task force members were not at our last meeting, and I do apologize for that. It did fall right before our 4th of July weekend, so it's understandable that there definitely was a smaller number of members during that meeting. However, three really exciting things happened at that last meeting, and we're gonna, at this meeting, I can now share with you the progress that's made, but just to kind of give a brief summary of the 3 initiatives that we are moving full force on with. The first item, as on our regular agenda, with our senior grant program. At our last meeting on July 2nd, it was brought forth to the committee a resolution in regards to providing resources, services, and support to our senior centers throughout Oakland County. Thank you, Mr. McClure, for sending out a really nice updated table of the senior centers across Oakland County. And there are almost 40 different senior centers across Oakland County. And one of the things that we really talked about leading into the development of this grant program was that we recognized that senior centers across Oakland County have very diverse and different needs. And as we moved forward with developing this grant program and process, we wanted to make sure that we accounted for all those differences across our centers in Oakland County. And so as a result of that, the grant application, or the resolution that will roll out this grant application process was very broad in nature to make sure that we were to be able to capture the needs and services and PPE equipment that our senior centers did need. I'm happy to report that since our last meeting, this resolution went forth to our pandemic response committee on Monday. And just as of last night, it was brought to the boardroom floor and it has been passed. And the next move is it will now go over to our oversight committee, who will develop the grant application and begin the implementation of that. The good news is that during our committee discussions at the Pandemic Response Committee on Monday, it was brought up to take a look at eliminating the language of up to $50,000. And in regards, and as a result of those conversations, an amendment was created to strike out the up to $50,000 language. And instead, in replace of that, we said a minimum of $2 million would go forth to this grant program, meaning that we no longer will have a cap of $50,000, but potentially we want our senior centers to provide us with information of reimbursements and the services and programs and the needs that they have without having to look at that dollar sign to cap them. So overall, what we've done with this grant is removed the minimum or the maximum amount of money a senior center could receive. And at this point, I say this lightly, but it's the simplest way to say it, that the sky is the limit when it looks at what this grant application will cover. Does anybody have any questions or comments with anything that I just said? Mr. McClure.
Okay, yeah, what you're basically saying is it's actually up to the centers because they all have various needs. There's no cap on any center of $50,000. If that center needs 150,000 or 200,000 and they can verify and justify it, that's where the money will go. If
You are correct, as long as it's COVID related.
Yes, I mean, and as long as they submit their stuff with documentation and it's approved. So if I'm at OPC and I submit $5,000 and I get it, if I'm at Waterford and I have $200,000, even though I'm smaller, I could conceivably get that $200,000 if I can justify it.
Absolutely, it all revolves around equipment to keep and protect our health and safety. In addition to new programming that's been developed, and in addition to potentially smaller infrastructure changes. I know it was brought to the attention yesterday that some senior centers would like to have those touchless faucets in their centers.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's really thinking outside of the box and what we can do to make sure that we are keeping our seniors safe, having accessibility to the proper PPE equipment within the centers. And at this point, it is open to those broad submissions. And we encourage our senior centers to think outside the box because, it's not just about the costs that have occurred due to COVID now, but it's also moving forward and making sure that we're maintaining that same protection and health of our seniors. So I'm really happy to work alongside our fellow commissioners and start getting this to happen. The timeline expectation is I know that this is something that we want to make sure we are able to keep the momentum rolling and start getting this out ASAP. So there is not a specific date yet, but within the next 2 weeks, I foresee these grant applications being open and ready to accept senior center apps. So as we move through, obviously, more task force meetings, we'll definitely keep up to date, but I highly encourage all of you to share this information because it's only a matter of time that this is going to be up and open for our senior centers to apply for.
Okay.
Mr. McClure.
Is there a possibility that you can put this in some kind of bullet form document that I could then, or we could then cascade out since, like I said, the Senior Advisory Council has yes, Barbara.
So I would strongly recommend, I don't know if it will be up to us, but because the county executive office is getting so much better in releasing money faster, I can confirm, because I am on a board of nonprofit who was approved money, and we got the money within a week. So it would be a team of the same people that are taking care of the local government grants, and they are going to, disperse information and provide all of that to the senior centers directly.
Okay. So they have the ability to interact with the senior centers immediately. Okay.
Yes.
That's
And
what I'm
And as I see from the nonprofit, the small business grants took a little bit longer. They have to figure it out, the logistics, but now they are really working hard and fast to release money right away. So if they have submitted, if the non-senior center will submit something, I am sure, and I will confirm it with them and put you in, I will tell them that you are interested in being, like, in touch as well, and I can make the connection.
And I would rather have too much information coming
Yes.
than not enough information,
Yes.
because we're all over the map with our senior centers, from having the latest and greatest to, if they got a landline, they're probably doing good. So that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Cam. That was a really great question. And I do know there's a large majority of commissioners across the board who have already reached out to their senior centers in their district to let them know that this is happening. It's coming down the pipelines, to start thinking about those services and programs and additional things that are needed to keep our seniors safe. So, and in addition to that, Cam, one of the other things that we'll also do is that there'll be a news release of this information to share even more. That'll be a little bit more simplistic.
Okay.
But as Barbara said too, I really have to say, one of the things that I am just so thankful for is the way that we are going through these grant processes. This was something brand new when we first started all the way back in March with our small business grant application. We learned a lot through that first initial process, and I'm so happy and so pleased with how administration has tweaked things along the way, so we can make sure that this process is easy as possible, but also that money gets out as soon as possible. And we have just done such an amazing job over the past few weeks, let alone the past couple months, in regards to simplifying this process for people who apply, and in turn making sure that money gets out as soon as possible. And I know we'd had some previous conversations of, there was some kinks in the way with money being delayed, but I'm really happy to say that we now have point people for each of our districts that are really helping tighten up this process and expediting the process. So I'm really hopeful that once this grant application gets launched, we'll be able to move rather quickly, now that we've learned through our other grant processes that we've been doing over the past couple months.
Okay.
This is Jim McGuire.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is Kathleen Latot.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
Oh, yeah, I had a question. If I with the I'm wondering about the definition of the senior centers, like who qualifies as a senior center, and if I'm like say I'm at the Association of Chinese Americans and I run senior programs there in Chinese, would I qualify for this funding?
So that's a really great question. I would say that once these grant apps open, what I'll do, Kathleen, is I can take that information now, and I'll actually reach out to our point person who is going to be working and has been working with us through this grant. Those are great questions. I don't know 100% the answers to, but I most certainly will seek them out. And I still
thanks.
strongly encourage to still apply as well.
Okay, very good.
Yes, thank you.
This
And
is Jim.
Barbara, can you provide some further insight in regards to how we classified the senior centers? Because that was brought up when we did our initial CVT local partnership grant. We know that there's different funding for senior centers throughout Oakland County. And I believe with our first CVT grant that looked at including our senior centers, we did limit some of our centers in Oakland County from applying because they didn't fit the criteria. So one thing as we moved forward from that grant process and application was we put that into consideration with this grant process and application to avoid having that happen again. So Barbara, is there anything that I'm missing with how we've qualified senior centers in this grant?
I don't think so. There is a definition of it. It has to be a public senior center. So I don't know if the Chinese American Association is considered public. In the resolution, it says the senior centers has to be located in Oakland County and meet the local government definition contained in the resolution, the local partnership resolutions. I know there were changes to that local partnership resolution, but I think only changes were to extend it to the road commission. I don't think so that any changes were made to the senior center.
Okay. And what I'll do too is I'll reach out to our local, my district rep for our grant processes, and I'll reach out, Kathleen, to get a little bit further insight information on that for sure.
Yeah, it would be great to know how public is defined. It sounds like that's a little gray.
This is also a question that the Senior Advisory Council has grappled with. This is Kathy Fordsley, and I know Pat Sawatsky, the coordinator of that, that has over the past few years really grappled with that same issue as well and really dug into it. So if you need to be connected to Pat for further discussion, I'd be happy to do that. And having said that, I'm sorry I have to get off the call. I have an emergency meeting.
Oh, no, well, I appreciate your time, Kathy. Thank you.
Yes, and Christine is on the call in place of me since I'm hanging up. So if there's anything you want her to follow up with Pat regarding definitions, she can take those notes. Thank you.
Yep,
Excellent.
happy to
Thank
do
you.
so. Yep, bye Kathy.
This is Jim.
Cameron?
I had a couple of comments.
Oh, yep. Who's,
Jim McGuire.
Jim McGuire.
okay, so first we'll do Jim for a first time, and then Cam will come back to you. Thank you.
Just a few comments. This is great things, and particularly nice to hear you say, Kristen, that one of the things that will be eligible, we're making senior centers touchless, which is very important. When I think about how senior centers will be able to take advantage of this, two considerations we should have. One is that, like with touchless faucets, many senior centers are in municipal buildings. So to get go through the process of, they may have to get quotes, get plumbing quotes, get to work through the township services. And it may take some time for these things to transpire. So I think it'd be important not to have like a short, hard, fast deadline, but maybe have the grant process open for a long period of time so people have the ability to do their due diligence for some of these more significant enhancements. The second thing is, I would really encourage, as part of the grants opening process, to have an open meeting where senior centers can come in through a meeting like this and ask questions and hear the county talk about what are the possibilities to stimulate maybe some more creative and comprehensive thinking of the senior centers.
Yeah.
And then the last comment was, organizations like Chinese Americans at Area Agents on Aging, we have them as dedicated as a community focal point. We don't use the language senior center, but they're a focal point for older adults to come for information and services for older adults. So pretty close to the service definition. We consider organizations like Affirmations that do senior programmings out of essentially a community center as comparable to senior centers in that way as well. And so I would encourage and support a more open definition of senior center to include these types of organizations. Thank you for letting me get my comments in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. McGuire. Those are very helpful and useful. Thank you. Cameron.
Yes, well, Kathy took the words right out of my mouth. That's as far as what is a definition of a senior center. The Oakland County Senior Advisory Council has been wrestling around with that for several years because there does not seem to be an Oakland County definition of what the heck a senior center is. Okay, and the Chinese center that the lady was talking about is one that shows up in AAA 1B, but it is not one of the ones that we, the district senior advisory council members, interface with. Okay, so if they are to be a senior center, they're missing out on a lot of information. And this may be the time that we finally come up with what that is, because we've found in the past that we've got outfits calling themselves senior centers that are not. Okay, and they're listed on the Oakland County in the OGov thing. So now we got a situation with being vetted. Okay, and is Oakland County saying that they are or not? So this is a side topic that needs to be addressed. So hopefully, maybe what you're doing, Commissioner Nelson, is going to help resolve that issue.
Cam, you said that very, very, very well, and I hear you loud and clear. What I am going to do is I will, I'll reach out to our chairman
Yes.
of the board and just figure out what would be the most appropriate committee to have this conversation at, because I couldn't agree more. There is a lot of confusion in regards to how our senior centers are defined. And, you know, as you pointed out yourself, sometimes the information we even have listed could be a little deceiving and
Yes.
misleading. But that just goes to even show more that it's a bigger reason why we really need to tighten up on really what that definition is. And if it's a gray area, I think there's a lot of support to take a look at how we could tighten up that definition moving forward.
Yeah, and just
So I
one other thing, what Kathy was saying about getting with all of the senior centers, you know, the health department, correct me if I'm wrong, I think every Friday has a powwow with the senior centers already. So I would think that they would have no problem whatsoever with you guys piggybacking off of something that they've already established and the senior centers are already locked into. Okay, so that there's a venue that is already set up for you to be able to talk to them all at the same time.
Yeah,
Okay.
excellent. I appreciate that feedback. Is there any other further discussion on item number 1? Excellent. Alrighty, moving forward to our agenda item number 2, which is an update on our interactive county website with resources and services available for seniors. Before I have Mr. Ed speak with us on some updates on that, I just want to share with everybody, I know not everyone was at our July 2nd meeting, but one of the other things that we talked about as we move forward with some of our short-term goals is to develop a website on our Oakland County website as a whole in regards to specific services for seniors in light of COVID. And I know we have got some really great resources. I know the health division has a really great page on their department website in regards to the senior services and programs that are presently occurring throughout Oakland County. But our more purposeful intent of looking at developing something more specific to COVID. Because of COVID, there's a lot of differences in what some of these programs might look like, how they're moving forward with operation, and in addition to new programs and services that will be available for our seniors. And in order to make it much more easier for our seniors to have access to information, we're going to move forward with an interactive county website that will contain this information. And I know we talked a lot about last week how we have no intent of recreating the wheel. At the same time, our biggest intent is to bring this information together and have a comprehensive website that not only supports the senior services and programs that are presently taking place, but what kinds of services and supports are now in place due to COVID-19. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ed, and I have got to say, I am so grateful for your participation and expertise in this area and contribution to this task force, because you are super amazing and passionate, and I greatly appreciate the time that you have already put forth. So thank you so much for being here this morning.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. I had a different speaker, so thank you for the opportunity to be a part of it. Like I said, this means a lot to me personally, so I have a lot of investment. But one of the things I took away from the last meeting was to go back and look at what we have for sites around the county and where we have different things for senior resources. I've talked with some people in IT, and basically everything that we have that would be senior related is off of the OakGov site. And so that is the #1 spot to go to. And so what I did, and Barbara, I shared a list with you that you kind of emailed out of how you look at doing like website design. And I don't know if we want to bring that up real quick.
Yes, I am bringing it right now.
So these are some of the things that go on when you think about doing a website. And these are the attributes. So when we think about this as an IT organization and we're building a
Can you see it, or
website,
should I enlarge it?
I can see it. Can the rest see it?
If you could enlarge it just a little bit, that would be very helpful.
Okay. Oh, no, sorry.
Yeah, even without my glasses, I can see it. So, yeah. Oh, I can really see it now.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Basically, when you think about what a website has to do, there's some key attributes that we think about when we build requirements for how to build one. And this is a little bit of IT. This is what we need as a business entity and things we have to solve for as we think about this. But the simplicity of a design, how things go through, they like to have what they call a visual hierarchy, where you would click through a series of menus to navigate through.
Mhm.
That navigation capability is another important thing. You want to have consistency. It needs to be accessible. You want to use standards across like design technology platforms. But the most important things, I think, for us are the two in the bottom. One is the credibility of the resources. So there is so much on the internet that's not true and
Mhm.
things that are, and that credibility becomes essentially important. And the thing that comes out when I did the research, and I spoke with Kathy about this the other day as well, the site that's already built around seniors actually has a lot of that credibility, and we should build off of that credibility with what we want to do. Because I think that website actually has a lot of that defined, but then we have to look at the user-centric pieces, and that's about how you test with a target audience. And then the next section is built off of user-centric. So when you're looking at things that are senior-friendly, this is kind of how you design a senior-friendly website that I found some information about. So this is kind of what they expect to see. They want limited scrolling, for example. They need to actually have a very simple thing with single mouse click capabilities. Like, they can't be overwhelmed. And when you look at the site that's there, a lot of what we have is patterned off of this. And I would say that I think that between the credibility Oakland County has with that site and some of the things that exist, we should be putting the additions into that site, like a COVID section or something else, and create the hierarchy off of a brand that's already established that has credibility.
Mhm.
But these things kind of already exist. And I went through with Kathy, and she's got a really good control over what's been out there and building that credibility. So this is kind of what it looks like. And I wanted to share a little bit with the group about what does it mean when we say we want to do this? And these are the attributes we have to think about
Mhm.
when we put things out there.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where it was. Like, we didn't have a lot of other stuff. There's things we might extrapolate out. So for example, veterans, we have seniors who are veterans. Do we have to put a link to that or connect those things together? Those are things we still have to solve for this. But at a high level, this is kind of what we have. And we have a really good footprint already. So that's kind of the update I wanted to share with the group and some of the information. Any questions?
Yes.
Sure.
It's Cam. Boy, Ed, you're right on time. It looks like we're going to be cleaning up a whole lot of stuff. 2 or 3 years ago, has anyone ever tried to navigate the OGov website to get to anything senior? Okay. I tell you what, Ed, like you, I have no hair. Okay. It is there's a lot of information on this is one of the ones that really gets me going, is that how difficult it is. Janessa Doolittle, who we interface with in the Senior Advisory Council, we have been working very hard trying to get the OGov, whoever developed the stuff, to understand how difficult it is for seniors to navigate the OGov website to get to anything, okay? I mean, there's a lot of information, but if you don't know how to navigate, if you don't know how to get down into the thing, you can't even get to the Senior Advisory Council page. Okay, we have a page in the OGov website for the Senior Advisory Council where we link up with all of the senior centers. We also, in other words, one place where the seniors can go and click on a link and take them where they need to go, whether it's the veteran site, whether it's AAA 1B. In other words, what you're saying is exactly what needs to be said, okay? And I truly appreciate what you're saying is, how do we get the powers to be that oversee the thing to understand what you're just telling us all, okay? Like I said, we have a senior advisory area within, but to get to it, there's nothing on the front page. When you go to the very first page, when you go into ogov.com, there's nothing. we're actually buried up underneath the health department. Okay, because that's where we're physically located. But intuitively, for a senior, that's not what you would expect. Okay, so we have a lot of. We would love to work with you, or to finally get this to where you got one place. I call it the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. The more I get frustrated, the less I'm going to do something, and the more I get upset. And boy, the last thing you want is an upset senior, as you well know. That we can really, it takes a long time for me to wind down once I get wound up. But one of the things that we've been working with Janessa, who has been our Janessa Doolittle, works for Kathy in the health department. She has been our interface and working with those folks, and we've been able to get some stuff. But the things that Kristen was talking about, it needs to be in one place. And in other words, one place, and you can get to multiple sites. There's one thing for COVID, there's one thing for the veterans, but I can click on that one and it may take me out somewhere else. I don't care. And I don't think our seniors do either. They don't want to have to go through. I had like a 2-page thing where I had what I had to do to get to stuff. Okay. And I am fairly computer literate, but I know that I may be in the minority compared to a lot of seniors. Okay. And then we have a lot of seniors that don't even have computers. So what you're saying is really good news. Okay. I'm sorry to get on my bandwagon, but if we could somehow solve this issue as well, to where if I go to the main site, if I go to the main page, Ed, I ought to be able to click on something that takes me to seniors, all things seniors. And then under that are okay, so what you're saying, I'm saying the same thing from my perspective of actually having to navigate it.
Accessibility is key.
Yeah.
Question, Ken, I just wanted to drill in. So once you get into the site though, you don't have those issues, right? So
Well,
if you were in the older adult site that was there with the clicks that are there, that all works for you.
Well, a lot of it does because of Janessa being able to somehow or another convince whoever it is the powers to be. It's funny how a person who knows how to do something, it's easy for them, right? And for you probably, if it was a language and you know it fluently, it's no brainer to you. For me, it doesn't take much to knock me off. So in the case where Janessa has been working on this, I imagine we've been working on this 3 or 4 years now. Okay, is that it's a lot easier. Like you can go to our website and actually click on and link into the senior center's websites. So I can go to one place, click on that, and I can go to an example, Waterford, from one site. Now, as a senior, I don't need to go to the Waterford site. I can go to the senior centric or specific part. But the problem with the OGov site is there's nothing on the front page that tells you. Okay.
Yep.
And that's a problem. I mean, when you go in, what are you looking for? Unless you've got the specific link to go directly to it, most people are going to go to the main OGov site.
Sure.
Right.
And I know, EJ, one of the things that we did talk about in the past is there a possibility of putting in like a searchable zip code so that when people do visit this site that they can input their zip code and not only pull up those services and supports that are the closest to their home, but it also potentially provides them with directions to get to those places to receive and access those services and programs.
And that is very feasible to build if we have a way to get to the info. So technically I can build that for you. If somebody were to say, here are the inputs that we needed to do, we can build all of that plumbing. That's not the hard part. That's like about a 50 hours worth of work thing from a technical viewpoint to build that sort of drill down capability for us. Figure 50, maybe 100 hours if we want to do some advanced testing with it all. But that part you can do. It's finding the sources and those data points and who maintains it to build the credibility that become the challenge.
Yes.
That is the biggest part about this. And that's the beauty of the OakGov brand on it is it's got instant credibility.
Yeah.
And
You're right.
so I want to build from there too, because that's something you can't build from nothing, right? That takes time. And we've got a really good start. I think it's about getting it more to the front, adding more content to what we have, and streamlining the connectivity of it and adding more to it. But we just need to start building out what are the things we want to attach. And Kathy even has a web content manager when I was talking to her that we can actually get stuff out onto that site.
Mhm.
So all of this is really feasible without having to go through a mass overhaul.
Yeah,
Excellent.
tweaking it a
Excellent.
little
Thank
bit.
you.
Yeah.
And EJ, I just have one last question. I know that State Rep Mari Manugian brought this up at our July 2nd meeting in regards to, as we do move forward with website accessibility, what measures are we taking to make sure that our website accessibility is ADA friendly, in addition to multilingual?
Yeah. So multilingual is something I'm still looking into. I actually am reaching out to Washtenaw was the site we said at the last meeting, and I know someone over there to find out what they've done with those pieces. But on the ADA compliance piece, when you're in the Oakland County framework of that site, all of those things are against our ADA compliance standards. And inside of IT, we've got like an ADA checklist that we use to go down to make sure we're compliant with ADA.
Wow.
So we look at all of that stuff and we refresh those standards every couple of years.
Yeah.
And they all go through a design process internal. So ADA is covered by what we do today. The multilingual, I'm still trying to figure out what Washtenaw did, since it was something popular that we wanted to look at.
Excellent.
Wow.
Thank you. I appreciate that information.
No problem.
Are there any further discussion, questions, comments on agenda item number 2?
This is
Excellent. Well-
Kathleen speaking.
Go right ahead, Kathleen.
I wanted to support some of the comments that Mr. McClure made about senior accessibility to the website. I really appreciate that you're taking a keen eye to that. I was also wondering if you are planning on having a cohort of seniors test it so that you can get some senior, real-time feedback about that.
I mean, that is something we could do if we choose to. Like, that is the beauty of where we're at. Like, this is something we could design and say, we want to go and we could free up money from probably CARES Act stuff. I'm speaking with what I think we could do. And we could actually reach out to people or even do training of how to use the sites at these places, put on events either electronically, and try to figure out how to get that outreach going so that they know it's there. Like, that is the key thing, is getting it into their hands to make it usable. Because we had talked about like emails or a flyer last time, possibly doing like online trainings where they could bring into a senior center or into Zoom meetings or something else where we could do that kind of training with them is a really cool thing.
Well, and I hear the training piece, but I mean, realistically, 95% of seniors aren't going to get that training. So you want the site to be accessible by those who don't have the training. You don't want to have people that have to be trained in order to use the site. So that's why I was thinking about a cohort of seniors who are using it as is and can provide you feedback with, oh, I don't understand how to get here, or how do I find this, or I can't see this, or I didn't see that, to give you some good feedback. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Kathy, that was awesome. Awesome suggestion. I absolutely love it, because at the end of the day, if it's not accessible and easy for our seniors, then they're not going to use it. And it's going to completely defeat the whole purpose of creating this accessible interactive website. So as we get closer to like launching, I definitely recommend that we do revisit a little test model of gaining some feedback from our seniors who are and have had access to utilizing the website, to give us, more constructive feedback on making it better. So I love it. Thank you so much. That's a great suggestion. Yes, Barbara.
And I just wanted to Cam's point. When I Google older adults, I will go directly to the site, but I was trying to get on it from the county or even from the health department while you were talking, and I still cannot find it. It's like 7 minutes, and I am trying.
Barbara,
Under services, I am under health AZ, I am under, and I cannot find.
Barbara, this is Christina from the health division. It's, if you go under, I totally agree with Cam, and I work with Janessa too, and I have heard about these struggles. So it's under partnerships. If you go to
Oh.
partnership, you'll
Yeah.
find Senior Advisory Council, and then you'll see the Senior Service Directory. But
Here.
yes,
Oh,
yes, but
thank
still,
you.
yes, I'm agreeing. I'm just offering some on-site
Thank
technical
you, yeah.
assistance as well.
The one thing I would like to add is that if Ed needs any seniors, the Senior Advisory Council can give him all the seniors he wants, because we interact with all of the senior centers, and he would have one hell of a test bed with the senior centers and also the folks that in those senior centers. So we could get him whatever he needs, whenever he wants. We'd be more than happy to work with him.
I think that's a great idea. As we move closer to launch, I think that this is something that's important and a critical component of this entire goal and objective.
Mhm.
So as we get closer, Cam, we're going to be calling you up, and you can round up.
Hey, I'm a good sheep herder. You know,
I love it.
the
And
one
I
thing,
appreciate it.
you know, the
Great
one
feedback.
thing is that this is benefiting our seniors in Oakland County. So, I mean, as bad as COVID-19 has been, it's also digging up a whole lot of issues that we've had all along. And that if we can get some of these things resolved, if we get into a future thing, we'll be much better prepared for it. So we appreciate everything.
Thank you. Barbara?
Yeah, so EJ, would you be willing, I know you said last time it will be like 40 to 70 hours, but would you be willing to put maybe like a project on a paper, so then if we need a resolution or the Board of Commissioner would need to free some COVID-19 money, so we would be ready. So if you put like something together and maybe two projects, maybe one with the whistles going with testing and everything, and one bare minimum what has to be done, so then Commissioner Nelson and Loops can go and negotiate the
The only
Wow.
question I would have with doing that is, where do I get the requirements for the content that we want to have out there? Like, that's the big thing I need, is the content.
Mhm.
The actual technical piece is not a problem.
Mhm.
Like, I can write that part up, but we need to get what are going to be the things that give us that credibility, the links we want on the site, the other things we want to do with this. Like, as long as someone can say, here's the content of what we want to put in here, this is where you get this information, we can build the drill down map.
Okay, so question, do you need that content prior to put the projects together, or the fiscal part of the project?
We can't actually do the work until that's actually done.
Mhm.
We cannot do.
So I wonder,
Mhm.
It's the
I
input
think-
of the project.
I completely understand, EJ, exactly what you're saying. And I'm hopeful that the third item on our agenda, I think that's going to help us generate a lot of information that will then be utilized on the website as well. I mean, there should actually be quite a large overlap of information on the website and information on the direct mailers, because really at the end of the day, the purpose of the direct mail was to still give contact information and program and services throughout Oakland County for those seniors that don't have technology access and internet accessibility. So I think once we hammer out information on the mailers, I think that's going to help a lot with transferring that information right over to the website. Barbara?
Or we have the Senior Advisory Council that has a credibility already, and Cam, sorry to put things on you, maybe we should look into the processes for EJ purposes, that anything put on the website would have to be approved by the Senior Advisory Council.
I guess, I don't know if it doesn't necessarily have to be approved, but at least one of the things, Ed, that our main person is Janessa Doolittle. Okay, and she is at the health department, and she works for Kathy.
Yep.
And Janessa is, if you want to know everything that we've been doing, she's the one that can translate technical to technical with you. Okay, and would be a real good source. But whatever the information coming in, it needs to come into one place, and then that one place be accessible to everyone easily. Okay, And like I said, what goes on behind where you're doing your programming and all of that, when I click on a link, I can go directly to a senior center. I don't have to even know what the web address is. It tells me it's whatever. So if I'm a senior and now you give me that, as you well know, you give me something where I can work out of, it's going to make it easier for me. We even are hooked in with our commissioners. The commissioners have their own website, but we link into them as well. So even though they have a website, if I'm a senior, if I can go to one place and get to if I can get to Commissioner Lubes by clicking on the site from the seniors, it works better. So Janessa Doolittle would be our, and I have to let Janessa know, but we would welcome anything that would help things better. So,
Excellent.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Alrighty, is there any further comments, questions on agenda item number 2? Alrighty, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 3. And that is, so make a plethora of papers in front of me. Number 3 is our update on our countywide mailer with resources and services available for seniors. At our last task force meeting on July 2nd, we talked about how, one of the things that we are well aware of through this process already that we've started here last month is that there's a lot of really great services and programs in light of the pandemic that are currently taking place. However, many seniors don't know about these programs and furthermore don't know how to gain more information in regards to those services. So as a result of that, this item takes a look at directly mailing a piece of mail to every household 60 years and older throughout Oakland County. And the purpose of bringing this up at our agenda meeting or our meeting today is to gain some more insight and feedback and information from all of you in regards to what kinds of information and services and programs would you like to see. I know, in our previous discussions, we've talked about, transportation is a big one, especially transportation to and from, your grocery store, doctor's visits now that we've opened up. And in addition to enrichment activities, a lot of enrichment programs and services have moved online, but there still are to some capacity these kinds of programs taking place in person now that we've proceeded on with reopening even further here in Michigan. But in additionally taking a look at health services, social, services, what other kinds of information would you like to see on these mailers?
Yeah. Wow. Ooh.
And while you're kind of still thinking of that, let me just share with you, we did have a discussion on the size. So there was a conversation that we had last week in regards to 5x7 or 8.5 by 11.5. And in this situation, I think we agreed on that bigger is better. Not only will it allow us to increase the font size and make it a little bit more easier to read, but also too, it would allow us to put even more information on. And as we kind of saw with the information that EJ shared with us, it's all about keeping things simple, bulleted, so we're not having large paragraphs and chunks of information. So with those kinds of things in mind, what are some of the areas or programming or services that you feel are a must-have on these mailers?
Wow.
This is Kathleen. From an accessibility standpoint, I think it'd be great to have like a little carve-out box that might have a listing of where people who speak one of the top non-English languages can get resources, so Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, and then also maybe deaf and blind resources where people can call or visit that would provide the same information to them in a language that they understand.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I agree, Kathleen. Thank you.
Wow. Veteran services is another one. And Barbara sent this in our package. This is from AAA 1B. Okay, that has, of course, it gives a lot more detail. I guess everyone has that, correct? There's a lot of really good information. And of course, you know, a lot of our seniors get all their information from the senior centers, and this is one that I've got several boxes in my garage because this is from AAA 1B, and it is probably about 50 pages. Well, in fact, more than that. It's like 70, almost 80 pages, chock full of everything you want to know. Okay, and of course, this is not something that it would cost us a fortune to mail that out. AAA 1B did an outstanding job with this resource guide that is extremely helpful. But I think if you're talking about a mailer, then maybe you're talking about the big ones, or even where they can go to link up, like what Ed was talking about. Here's the site that will take you to everything. Okay, here's some of them, you know, what do you call it? Like a smorgasbord of some stuff, but everything else, you could go to the ogov.com website and get all of it, you know?
Sure.
So the more
And you
information.
don't forget, keep in mind though too, a lot of our seniors don't have that accessibility.
Well,
So
this
one
is
of the things that I really want to make clear when we do have this information on those mailers is not only are we going to have website email support, but I'm strongly encouraging and recommending that we have an actual phone number with a contact person also on this mailer for our seniors who don't have that accessibility. I fell into that trap, Cam, myself, as I was initially going over that, because we are so driven with technology and websites and internet, but really I had to pull myself back and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. One of the large purposes of this direct mail piece is to help support our seniors and get them access to those programs and services that don't have that means. So
okay.
I fell into that myself. It's
I
tricky.
understand what you're saying, but we're talking Oakland County. You're talking about Oakland County. So
We are.
my services in West Bloomfield will be different from somebody in Waterford.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's duly noted. Commissioner Loops.
I agree with Cam about the Connect magazines from Area Agency on Aging. I also obtain boxes from them and deliver them even to our Oakland County Treasurer's Office, to the various libraries, and they fly off the shelves. But people do want, a lot of our seniors are not internet savvy, so having a phone number or somebody to contact is amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I know that when we think about some of the services in light of COVID, so when we talk about delivery services, grocery deliveries, pharmacy deliveries, how can we help support accessibility to those kinds of things? And in addition to telehealth services, there are some capacities of utilizing cell phones, right, that you can do telehealth services on, but a lot of seniors don't know that those programs exist. A lot of seniors don't know that still a lot of our large chain stores have senior hours. And I understand that that could always change, and it gets tricky with providing temporary information on something permanent. However, I still think it's important for seniors to know that there are stores and small businesses throughout our communities in Oakland County that have specifically reserved hours for them to come on in. And in addition to looking at some of those assurance phone calls and assurance programs, there's a lot of programs presently taking place that I don't think seniors are aware of. So in light of those kinds of, and food assistance is another really big one. I know that's a big part of the feedback that I've heard from some seniors over the past few weeks is taking a look at places that they can go to. And there was some confusion of, well, if I don't live in, one zip code, can I still go and get something from another zip code? So there's a lot of confusion. And at the end of the day, we don't want any of that confusion to take place, especially with information that we can hopefully clarify for them. Cameron.
Yeah, what you're getting back to, it seems like if you're going to send out a 8.5 by 11 mailer, you're talking generic stuff. You're talking about things that could be applicable to all of Oakland County. Now, I saw in one of the earlier commissioner things where there was going to be money allocated for senior-related information coming out, because now maybe what you could do is either pattern it by senior center or by area within Oakland County, which gets specific to those specific areas. Okay, where I know that the Kroger down on 12th Street is doing so and so in Oxford. Okay, is what I'm getting at is when you're talking about something like this is a snapshot in time. Once I type this is it. There's no changing this versus being on a web where you can change stuff. So if you're sending out something the first go around, to me, it seems like it needs to be generic. In other words, AAA 1B, that's generic. That is something for all of Oakland County, even though they service other counties. Generic, the Veterans Association, generic, the Association of the Blind. You know, if you want to know more information, you need to contact your respective senior center. But right now they're down. That's where a lot of our, you know, this is the thing. COVID-19 has just pulled the rug out from underneath everything, you know, and how a lot of ways seniors communicate. Many of them, it's that physical, being able to go to that senior center and me beating them over the head with one of these books from AAA 1B. Okay, because they can get it, they can access it. Just like Commissioner Lube said, I've been doing the same thing. You know, if you see me come and run, but if we're talking about sending out something the first go around, it seems like it needs to be stuff that's applicable to all of Oakland County. Okay, and those things that are on there, those connects, are things that everyone in Oakland County can get to. Now, I can see drilling down with some of the additional monies and getting tailored to Waterford, to Oxford, to Southfield, to where those seniors in those particular areas have access to resources that are local to them. You know, like
I love your trade of thought. We are on the same page. So
yes.
When we talk about this specific mailer, you're absolutely right. Right now, it's getting that generic information laid out of currently what's happening just across Oakland County with our bigger organizations, right? And with that, that was the discussions that we've had in regards to with these mailers going out. It's going to be really important that we have commissioner specific information for the districts in which these pieces of mail are going to go out, because one of the things that we went back and forth on is we get that there is a lot of generic information, but at the end of the day, one of the very first things we can do is to put our contact information, my phone number, my email. I am a direct person that you can get a hold of. And that's what we talked about, the accountability piece for us as commissioners. It's really important, especially in times like this. We have to make sure that our information, our contact information, is out loud and proud. And it's not anything political. It literally comes down to making sure people, and in this case, our most vulnerable citizens in Oakland County, have really easy go-to information. And if that starts with a commissioner, that starts with a commissioner, but they need my information. And again, everything is so heavy on the internet and websites these days and Facebooks and, you know, other areas of social media, but we got to pull back and think, do we have an easier way for our seniors, more specifically, to contact commissioners first and foremost, let alone figure out, well, what kinds of organizational programs or services do I really need? And sometimes it just takes having that conversation with somebody to help, you know, you process that out, because you might come in that phone call thinking something completely different, but somebody helped narrow down by just listening the services and programs that it sounds like you're seeking. And so I could not agree more that this first step is just I hate saying the word generic, but I really do think that's the easiest, best way to kind of sum it up. But there has been conversations outside of this piece of mail in looking at, do we then go a step further and break information down by district? And it gets tricky, trust me. I know, coming from District 5 that has 5 different CVTs, it gets a little tricky, but the good news is some of those smaller CVTs really get lumped into our larger CVTs. So your mindset is in the right place, and it's taken this first step to get something out. But I could not agree more that there are high potentials that we will be revisiting this mailing information to get even more specific for our seniors across Oakland County. Barbara.
Okay, so for my logistical purposes, good, bad, indifferent, changes, additions.
No. Oh, well.
With Cam and Commissioner Lubes referencing the Connect, Barbara, a lot of that information I'm gonna share and pass along to you are coming right from Connect.
Yeah, from this book.
And in addition to, I know us commissioners back last year, we did our senior newsletters.
Yeah.
And one of the things I would like to just kind of throw out there, I did not know this until obviously we developed the senior newsletters last year was that we have programs with our sheriff's department in regards to cell phones.
Oh, yeah.
We have a program presently that's in place with our sheriff's department that has cell phones available for all seniors in Oakland County and at no charge. So it's even pieces like that of this is a program that's presently in place and has been in place, but definitely could be a very useful resource to include on the mailer.
Your newsletters, the county commissioner newsletters, like you say, now you're getting drilling down into the district where the commissioner can put his or her specific stuff and still have some overall things, but things that are more applicable to their own. And plus, you can call Commissioner Lubes or Commissioner Nelson. Here's our number. Okay. And like you say, just like with my senior advisory council, we've got one for each one of you commissioners, and that feeds back up to the top, and then we can then send things back out. So the more ways that we have to connect, the better we will be able, especially when the seniors know they've got someplace, they know where Commissioner Lubes is, and I can get directly to her. Okay.
Absolutely.
And she may need Commissioner Nelson and the Senior Advisory Council or AAA 1B. But the thing is, they know that they've got someplace that they can go to get the resources that they need. Okay. So the better we can make that, I would say the more secure our seniors will be, because there's so much information out here. I mean, and the thing is, I don't look for that till I need it. So if I know where I can go to get it, like this Connect book, I know I can go there, and it's always there. It's the number might change, but I know I got someplace I can go to get to something. So I like you say, this is not something that's going to take some time. That's one thing I like about Oakland County is we get into stuff. Okay, and biting this elephant off, we got to do a strategic bite. Okay, and
Absolutely.
then work on
It's a
the whole
process.
thing.
Absolutely. I appreciate your feedback, Cam, because this is an area that we really are taking a big bite out of. And, I'm all about doing things the right way and not worrying about a timeline, but also at the same time, prioritizing within timelines to get things out and going. I know it's anticipated that the next step for this mailer is Barbara and I will touch base and collect the information shared and already passed out. And then we're going to move forward with a graphic designer. I know we talked about at our last meeting, size, font, color are all very important components, especially with our senior population. So the idea is that once we get a draft example, I want to bring it back to the task force.
Okay.
I want to have one more, look at feedback, changes before we go to print, and obviously put a mail stamp on and get it into the mailboxes. So my idea is that within the next few weeks, this is going to take place behind the scenes. And I would think, Barbara, if I get overzealous with my time frame, please pull me back and correct me. But I don't foresee it being a problem bringing this back to the task force in 2-3 weeks max.
Okay.
And at that point, having things already to go. If feedback sounds great, colors look good, size and information and content is all there, then let's send it off to be printed.
Yep.
And we can, August 6th is perfect. And in the meantime, if we have something sooner, we can always send everything to the task force without the meeting, and if there is a need to convene or something, we can do it sooner.
Okay. Now, and
Excellent.
on top of that, what I say is once that has been approved and it goes out, you could also send the electronic copy of that out. It could be posted on the commissioner's websites. I can make sure it's distributed to all of the senior centers. In other words, if we have an electronic version of it, because once the senior centers hopefully open back up again, that we can have this information available, where they can just pick up a one at the senior center if they didn't get it in the mail. Okay. So in other words, the mailing is great. There's also, like you say, I know the electronic part of it is maybe the senior might not have access to the internet, but the senior center can download the thing, print it out, and have them sitting out for their folks when hopefully soon they'll be able to come back. Hopefully.
Excellent. I like that idea. And then, additionally, I know we have their digital newsletters that go out every month for each commissioner, and we could definitely, Cam, I don't foresee it being an issue attaching that information digitally as well.
Right.
100%.
Okay.
Alrighty. Is there any further questions, comments, discussion on item number 3? EJ.
One other question, and I just want to throw out the question to this group because I don't know, this is a lot more complex than I'm about to say, but it's something to think about, which is, we talked about a phone number to call. There's artificial intelligence that you use, and it's called a 311 service. And I'm curious if we would want to think about building out, this is an expensive thing to do, but when they call the number, it would be like an automated assistant thing that would answer the questions when they ask for content.
Wow.
Instead of having a person pick up the phone, it walks through like a website content and you program it to respond to keywords, kind of like the Alexa Echo listens to you now when you talk to it and you say Alexa and it says something back to you. You could say things into a phone and it would search what's there and give them an electronic answer.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot to build and it's a whole different methodology. We would need to look for partners to help us.
Yeah.
But I was just curious if that would be something we're interested in, or is that too complex with dealing with seniors, like having a machine answer you versus a person? So I was just throwing it out as a concept of, I'm fascinated by it. I've always thought we should, but I don't know where the drive comes in for that.
Okay, you want my opinion? Talking electronic stuff don't do anything for me. Okay, I mean, even though I am literate, most seniors like being able to talk to a human being. That's like nurse on call. They're actually talking to a human being that's not trying to figure out what the heck they want to say. And since we all communicate differently, I understand what you're saying. It's a great idea, except it's extremely expensive, and that would be something way down the road, because you know how we are when budgets get whacked. That'll be the first thing that goes. But a human being is, most people I do much better when I'm talking to a rep than when I'm talking to, what do you call that? Artificial intelligence, but that's my opinion. Okay.
I appreciate your feedback, Cam, and Edwin. I definitely see a significant use of the 311 service. I also hear, Cameron, what you're saying. Let's table that, but I am definitely making notes, and I would like to learn more about it for myself. But I definitely see the capabilities of where that could come into play. But I also, at the end of the day, Cam, I hear ya. It can be frustrating sometimes, and I know, technology, it evolves every moment and second of our day. But I definitely, let's table that service. But I would at some point like to come back and revisit that, especially when we start really going hard with the technology goals that we'll put together with this task force.
Right now, these seniors like myself are here for at least another 20 years, if Lord willing, but we're going to eventually be replaced by younger folks who are a lot more technically astute than we are. And what Ed is saying is probably going to be right on. Another 20 years, that's exactly how people are going to be. But right now, since I'm still hanging tough, Not planning on going anywhere until somebody hits me in the butt with a lightning bolt. I would think that most of our seniors right now would not really take to that.
I couldn't agree more, Cam. Timing is
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate that insight, and thank you, EJ, for recommending that. It's definitely something I think we'll revisit at some point in the future.
Yeah.
For
True.
sure. Is there any other discussion on item number 3?
Mm-mm.
Alrighty, excellent. Before we conclude
Mhm.
today's task force meeting, I just want to give an update. I know last time on our July 2nd meeting, I talked about, even though we're not focusing right now on the technology aspects of looking at how we can further enhance access and accessibility for our seniors with technology and the internet,
Mhm.
I want all of you to know that there are things happening behind the scenes in regards to looking at what we can do here in Oakland County as far as technology, devices, and internet accessibility for our seniors. Unfortunately, I cannot divulge a lot of information at this point, but I want you all to know that there are things happening behind the scenes in regards to technology and our seniors. And I'm really, really, really excited and happy to say that on Monday, July 20th, I'll actually be sitting in on a conference call with some great people from a great organization who is going to further help us figure out and look at what we can do that's accessible, financially feasible, especially in these times. But I'm really hopeful and I am really excited to move forward into this meeting on Monday. And I hope I will have more information, details to share with everybody in regards to the technology piece. It's just things are happening at light speed these days with so many other areas and departments across Oakland County. But rest assured, we are working and doing our best to really make sure that we are giving all of these areas the time that they require and need to actually make the differences in the lives of people. So again, I cannot say how proud and thankful I am to be on this task force with all of you. It truly is amazing that we have already made some really great strides. And I know we hit the ground running, and I know some of our heads were spinning, and I know still we're like, what's happening? Where are we going? I don't know yet. But what I do know is I'm committed, and all of you are committed to really making life easier for our seniors and making things more accessible. And especially in light of COVID-19, it has shed a significant light on something that has gone on too far. We haven't touched upon in the past as much as I really think we should have. But instead of getting stuck in that mindset, we are moving forward. And I'm really excited. So thank all of you for being a part of this. And I'm really excited over the course of the next couple months to work alongside with you as we further look at other solutions for our seniors.
All right.
So thank you. With that being said, what I'm anticipating is, I believe our next task force meeting will be scheduled for, I believe it's July 30th.
You said 3 weeks. August 6th is 3 weeks.
I would say, Barbara, let's do the 30th because I would like to say, at least by mid-August, I think that the mailers should be out and in the mailboxes.
Okay.
Okay.
And then hopefully too, we'll have some technology updates to share. And in addition to grant applications open.
All right. Super.
And paid.
Excellent. Well, is there any other business to come before the, good Lord, the Senior Social Connectedness Task Force today?
No.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate all of your time today, and I declare the meeting adjourned at 12:50 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
goodness.